Okay, this is the history of cutting. You know that cutting process is actually quite important history. So this is quite important and in our nowadays industry. So that's why, and please try to understand the cutting process as an engineer. Okay, this is actually our first parameters. Actually, that's quite important. So let me talk about and cutting direction. Okay, what is the cutting direction? You're gonna see the two different cutting direction here. And first of all, this is the down milling and up milling. This is my tool. You're gonna see that we are rotating on the clockwise side, both of them. And this is the movement of my workpiece. We're gonna move on to that direction, and this is and actually another direction. So, and we call that down milling, and we can call that up milling. So this is the clamp or down cutting. You're gonna see that we are here. This is the down milling. We're gonna start from the maximum chip thickness, and then we're gonna reach the minimum chip thickness. So we can start from here as a maximum cutting force, and then we're gonna reach minimum cutting force or minimum and the chip thickness. Okay, let me talk about clamp milling. In the clamp cutting, the tool moves in the same direction as the cutting edge. So this is actually my rotation, and this is my the workpiece movement. So you can see that both of them is the same. So we call that and same direction cutting maybe. Okay, this is the down cutting. Okay, this is actually reduce the cutting force and minimize the tool wear. It is commonly used for finishing operations to achieve the better surface quality. So that's process affect our surface roughness. Okay, so what about this one? So this is the conventional cutting. Conventional cutting means that this is the actually conventional cutting. The tool moves against the direction of the cutting edge, which can lead to higher cutting force and the tool wear. This method is often used for roughing operations. So you're gonna see that we're gonna start from the minimum chip thickness, and then we're gonna reach the maximum chip thickness, and then we're gonna start from the minimum cutting force to reach actually maximum cutting force. So actually, when we focus on that part, maybe we can also break our chip while we are on that point. So that's also possible. So it's both actually the cutting method, it depends on your the workpiece material, of course. So you need to be careful about that stuff. And that method actually, while we are using the down milling, we're gonna try to hit and we're gonna try to force our the workpiece on our CNC table. But at that approach, we try to actually move to our workpiece from our CNC table. So that is the big differences between the down milling and the up milling. So it's also possible to use bidirectional cutting. So this involves alternative and we can use between the conventional and the clamp cutting direction. It is used to balance cutting force and enhance the tool life. Okay, so you can also see here, you're gonna see that this is my actually maximum cutting force and the chip thickness, and then we can turn to do here and minimum to maximum, and this is gonna turn to the maximum to the minimum. If you use the conventional cutting method, it means that you're gonna use minimum to maximum cutting method. So both of them is actually depends on using the roughing or finishing or all about interested your tool life and other stuff. Okay, you need to be careful about that's okay. And thank you very much for listening to me. So remember that we talked about and our cutting direction and clump cutting and or down cutting or up cutting or conventional and the cutting. Okay, how can we handle in and the MasterCAM? You're gonna see the two operations here. One of them we can start from here. We're gonna start from here. We can start from like this one, for example. You know that we are rotating on that direction and we're gonna move on that direction. Okay, so this is also my geometry. You can also see that this is my geometry direction here. This is the clockwise side. My tool also is rotate on the clockwise side, so it means that everything is fine. So at that point actually we are using the actually here down milling. Okay, if you intend to use conventional milling or up milling, actually you need to use that stuff. This is my geometry direction. My geometry direction is on that direction. Okay, and then when we turn to here, this is actually conventional machining. Okay, we are rotating like this. This is my tool, like this one, and then we're gonna start from the minimum to maximum. So this is the up milling, minimum to maximum, minimum to maximum, and then we're gonna use conventional or up milling here. So when we turn to here, actually this one is actually clump milling. So we're gonna start from the maximum chip thickness here. We are rotating on that direction. This is maximum to minimum and maximum to minimum. So we can easily handle that stuff by using our parameters and the cut parameters, compensation type calculated by the computer, and we're gonna be on the left side. And then we can also select our geometry on this direction. Let me delete it, and maybe we should also select like this one. This is my direction. Okay, for actually and down milling, actually we can start from the maximum to minimum. Okay, so if we intend to use the conventional, so we need to turn back to our chain and we can select our chain on this direction. And then you can also need to be careful about your compensation direction. So this is also called actually and up milling. Oops, sorry about that noise. And let me turn to here, and then we're gonna start from here and we can rotate on this direction, minimum to maximum, minimum to maximum. So this is the up milling. Okay, and thank you very much. I really appreciated your interest.
Hello again, welcome to the MasterCAM course. In that lecture, we're going to talk about and the multi-axis options. I'm going to use the right mouse button, and then we can push the isometric perspective here. This is my VCS, working coordinate system actually. So after that, we need to focus on the C plane. This is my C plane here. I'm going to click here, and this is top view. It means that we can draw any 2D and the wireframe on X and Y axis. So I'm gonna change that. I can click right here. So after that selection, we can see that we're gonna focus on the Y and Z axis. So after that, we can click on the circle options here. I can select my origin and then click anywhere, and then I can write my diameter here. It can be 50mm diameter, and then my circle is created. After that, we can also use the right mouse button to select right view. After that, we can turn to line and point options. We can click horizontal line, click here and here. After that, we can write our axis offset here. This is, and according to my VCS actually, this is my Z distance according to XY plane here. And then we can write here 15 or maybe 20 better. And then I can click divide options to be able to and retrieve that area. And then actually we can use the extend button. So I'm gonna turn to modify length options here. And then we can write X and the distance here 10 millimeter. And then I can click here and here to be able to extend my line. Maybe we should also add extra 2 millimeter. Oops, sorry. And turn to 10 and apply. Blue, okay. Apply and keep going options. And then we can turn to 2. This is 2 and another 2 here. And then click OK button. Okay. I think that's enough. After that, actually, and we can also turn to transform options, and then we can turn to and the mirror options here. We can select a line and end selection button, and then you're gonna see the mirror options on the y-axis. And then we can click OK button. We can also see that and the transform and 2D entities is red and other one is and the purple. You can use the right mouse button and use the clear color option. Okay, that's it. After that, we can turn to sweep lane and top view again. Okay. So my intention to create some and full path by using that one actually. So I'm gonna turn to machine and the default meaning, and then I'm gonna use the right mouse button here and mill toolpath, and then we can turn to contour toolpath. After that, of course, I need to select my the line. This is my cutting direction. I'm gonna click OK button, and then this is my toolpath time. It's also changeable right now. We can turn to contour to focus or facing or smoke meaning or chamfer meaning. All of them is possible. Okay. So I'm gonna turn back to tool options here, and we're gonna use the right mouse button, create my tool. I'm gonna use hand mill, and this is gonna be my diameter. My diameter can be 16 millimeter, and I'm gonna click next button and finish my tool path. After that creation, of course, we can write our and the feed weight for each teeth. I also write my cutting speed. According to my tool diameter, my spindle speed and feed rate calculated automatically. Actually, if you can use and the working and cutting speed and feed rate according to your teeth, we can also focus on here that number of fluids must be true. Actually, this is 4, so it's everything fine. After that, we can turn to linking parameters. I'm gonna use incremental options here. Incremental means that we're gonna use actually, and we can consider actually where is our exact and the line or toolpath entities. So this is my toolpath entities. I'm gonna use and as a reference that distance. So incremental, 10, and incremental 0, and incremental maybe minus and maybe incremental 0 also. Okay. So after that, we can also turn to cut parameters. This is my compensation type. That is actually and computer calculate, and I'm gonna be on the left side. So we can also turn to leading options. I can also close that part because we already extend our line here. So I'm gonna click OK button. So this is gonna be actually my toolpath. Actually, you can also see that my line on Y and the Z plane and Y and X distance is 0. So if my x distance 0, actually, maybe we can also see the some and sharp corner here at that point. So that's why maybe we can also turn to top view and C plane and right view again here, and we can turn to 2D. So we can also write z-axis 0.2 millimeters, and then we can turn to Y-frame and line endpoint. We can create some line here. So I'm gonna see and 0.2 millimeter distance here. So after that, actually, I can select that line and delete it. Okay, and then we can turn to geometry and use right mouse button and painting it. After that, I can select my new change here. Okay. So we can also use the and the depth options here. We can use the and the 16 millimeter tool here. So we can also extend, or we can create parallel line 0.2 millimeter by using the 2D and Z options. So maybe we can also create and on minus Z-axis 20 millimeter distance, and we can click here and here to be able to get that kind of line here. And then we can turn to top view again and 2D to 3D. And then actually we can also recalculate our toolpath. This is my first toolpath. And then I can use the copy button and here. And then we can turn to parameters and cut parameters. We can turn to right options. This is left options according to my change. This is right option. We can click OK button, and then we can change our geometry. So I'm going to click here to be able to change my geometry. Maybe you can also see that that's kind of options. You need to push the little plus button here, and then you can delete my chain and take new one. So this is going to be my new chain here, and then we can recalculate. So at that point, actually, we can easily get exactly minus 20 millimeter and the options here. Okay, everything seems fine. So you can also say that, and maybe it's not possible to cut that kind of depth of cut. So this is my stock actually. That's why I am creating some circle on that plane. So you can see that when you put actually right view, that point actually, and we're gonna see that that's kind of like this. Oops, sorry. You can change my C plane again and 2D options. Maybe we should turn to 0.2 millimeter again, like that one. And then we can create a line by using the vertical options maybe. It can be like this. You can see that this is 5 millimeter. Okay. So if this is 5 millimeter, so we need to create some actually and the default cut options here. So how can I enter it? Of course, we need to come back to actually parameters and linking parameters. I'm gonna focus on the top of stock options here. This is my depth 0. You can click here, right here 5. Okay, and then I can turn to depth cut options here. We can write here 1 millimeter. So what you're gonna see here, this is gonna be my pullback. Actually, this is only one direction cutting. Actually, we're gonna see that kind of pullback. This is first one, and then we can see some zigzag movement here, and we're gonna keep going on that way. Because of the, and we're gonna see some step by step, and the zigzag position here. This is all about actually because of the my linking parameters and clearance plane is not activated, and retract position 25 millimeter is incremental. So I am here and we're gonna reach, and plus according to my position we're gonna reach 25 millimeter and on the z-axis. So we can activate that position. Maybe we should also write and the sum and the distance here to be able to use as a clearance plane. Or you can turn to absolute position and maybe we should write here maybe 75 millimeter is the absolute position. If you can use the absolute position, it means that you're gonna focus on the our and the working coordinate system or my VCS. So when I am click here, regenerate all dirty operation, you're gonna see the same retract position here. This is actually, and maybe it can be 50 like this. You're gonna see that kind of approach here. Maybe you can write here 35. Of course, you can also need to be careful about that stuff. Okay, I also need to do the same thing for and the dot line. This is absolute and 35 and incremental 5 millimeter. Incremental means that I'm going to repeat myself. This is my and the final depth according to my chain. You're going to use actually and the 5 millimeter higher. Okay, so I can activate that part and click OK button here and to be able to see that kind of pullback. Okay, everything seems fine. Okay, you can save our file before and lose our data. Okay, I can click here. Okay, that part is done. Is that right? Yeah, everything seems fine. So, okay, and maybe after that we can turn to and that part. Okay, I can delete and the that line. We can also turn to right view again. We can turn to 2D or 3D is not important right now. And we can turn to transform options and then we can use the mirror button. We can select that line and click OK button to be able to get mirror and the options here. And then we can turn to top view again. Okay. So okay, everything seems fine. So this is actually my and the toolpath here. We can turn to our parameters. So when we turn to actually our plane, we can see that top and it's a working coordinate system and top for the full plane, and this is the construction plane here at the top here. Okay, so after that we can turn to our VCS here, or and we can also create our VCS options here. Of course, before that we need to turn back to here. This is our rear option. So we're gonna focus on the plane options here. I can click here to be able to see my plane options. So, and actually, this is my top view. Actually, you can see here, we can use the right mouse button on it. So we can duplicate it. Actually, that part is quite easy. Okay, we can also create and relatively. So I'm gonna click here. This is relatively. Actually, okay, I just need to focus on the top view actually, so I can select all of them and then we can click OK button here. So we're gonna see the top view here. Okay, if I am clicking on the VCS and the other and the parts here, maybe we can use some extension part here. Okay, all of them is turned to top. Okay, here, or we can also see that we can delete and that part here Okay, we can, of course, before that we need to change our and active VCS here, and then we can use the delete option. Okay, you can see that it's quite easy to create some VCS here. This is bottom, actually bottom part is active right now. We can use that stuff, or we can also create a different degree here. Of course, you can actually use the right mouse button, and we can duplicate and that working and the coordinate system, and then we can change it easily. So at that point, we can we just need to use actually bottom and the part here. Okay, so this is actually weave and VCS and tool plane and other stuff. Okay, it's not important actually. We can also turn to VCS and the other parts here. Okay, so after that we can turn to actually toolpath options here, and then let's start with actually that one. I'm gonna copy here, and then we can pass our toolpath here. After that, we can click geometry, we can delete that part, and we can add new one. So I'm gonna start with that one. Okay? If I am recalculated, you're gonna see that kind of toolpath. Okay? But we don't want that. Okay, we're gonna use our 4-axis. So that's why we can turn to parameters options, and then we turn to tool plane actually options here, and then you're gonna click here. This is button one. Okay, and we can also change that one. Okay, and then actually we can recalculate, and it's done. Okay, everything is fine. We can copy toolpath 2 and paste here, and then we can delete that chain here and add new one. We're gonna select that one and click here, and it's also gonna turn actually and the bottom here and another bottom view here, and then we can recalculate, and you're gonna see that kind of signal. Oops, that's not good. Is that right? So because when we turn to our and the view, we need to change cutting direction. That's gonna be turned right. Okay, that one also gonna turn to left. This is the that must be inside of that two line. So everything seems fine. This is my toolpath. This is another toolpath here. Okay, let's see our and the keyboard here. I can select all my toolpaths and push the G1 button according to MP1 or furnace control unit, and you're gonna see our keyboard here. Okay, and let me check our code right now. Remove, and maybe we also use the and the remove block numbers here. Okay, this is actually, let me check, and I'm gonna search here, and that is A0, and then a 180 degree here. Okay, this is the 4-axis. Okay, yeah, that's quite important. Okay, so actually at that point we can also see and the G and 50 and the 4 and 55 here. Okay, we don't want that. You can change manually here. Okay, so at that point we're gonna use the same working coordinate system, and then we can use our actually 4-axis to be able to create that kind of toolpath. So I can cancel it, and we're gonna see it's easy. We can easily be able to see that kind of toolpath. Let's see our simulation here. Okay, this is because of my actually and graphics card problem. Yeah, everything seems fine. Okay, you can handle it, and that is our 4-axis options. Okay, you can save our file here. Okay, then that's it, and thank you very much for listening to me. I really appreciate your interest. If you have any question, you can ask me. I'm gonna try to answer your question. My intention to create huge community about and engineering and manufacturing stuff. Okay, so that's why don't hesitate to ask me any question. I'm here to answer your question. Okay, and you can also use the WhatsApp group to ask me any question. Okay, and take care.
Hello again, welcome to the MasterCAM multi-axis courses. In that lecture, we're gonna talk about how can we handle our and the 4-axis toolpath. Okay, I'm gonna click here. This is C plane. I'm gonna click on the right VCS here. So I'm gonna work on the Y and Z axis. Okay, if we can use the top view, it means that we're gonna create our and the Y frame options on the X and Y axis. Okay, we don't want that. We're gonna focus on the right C plane. After that, we can create our circle like this. Okay, maybe it can be 50mm diameter circle. And then we can also use right mouse button and we can click right view here. And then we can change 3D, 2D here. We need to hit that button. And then we can click here to be able to organize our z-axis. Okay, actually this is not z-axis. Maybe you can think that this is x-axis, and you can see that this is my VCS. So this is my actually offset plane options. You can think and on that way. Okay, let's create some line here by using the horizontal options, first and second line. After that, we can write my and the z-axis distance. So this can be 5 like this, or this can be 20mm. And then we can use the divide options here, and then we can use the modify length, and we can write here and maybe 15mm. We can extend that part and that part. Okay, this is going to be my lead in and lead out options. Okay, that's fine. After that, we can also click here to be able to set our and plane on and -20, and then we can create another line here. Okay, that's gonna be my toolpath, and then we can turn to top view and 3D, and maybe we can also turn to 0, but it's not necessary actually. Okay, let's select our and the mill. This is my default milling, and then I'm gonna use mill toolpath and contour toolpath here, and I'm gonna select that chain here. This is my toolpath type, contour, and we're gonna turn to and create tool options. We can select our tool. This is the number of the flutes 4, and then I can write my feed rate and cutting speed. According to my cutting speed and feed rate, we can calculate it our real feed rate and spindle speed. And then let's talk about linking parameters. When we turn here, our retract position can be absolute, and by my feed plane, according to my line on the 15mm distance, according to my line, it can be incremental 10 and incremental 0 and incremental 0. And then we can click OK button. Oops, sorry about that. We need to turn lead in options, and we can close that spot because we already extend our length, as you can see here. Okay, this is my toolpath. Actually, at that point, it's not possible to cut and the 5mm and the depth here. So that's why I'm gonna turn to my parameters and linking parameters. We just need to write here 5 as an incremental, and then we can also organize our depth cut with actually maybe 2 millimeter. Okay, this is gonna be my toolpath, and then I can copy here and paste it here, and then click the geometry and select new one. That's gonna be my new geometry. Okay, waiting MasterCAM to respond at that point, and then we can click here, cut parameters, and we're gonna turn left to right because this is my cutting direction. My tool gonna be on right side, so we can recalculate it. Okay, everything seems fine. So after that, actually I can select all that part, copy and paste here. We're gonna focus on our parameters. Of course, before that we can turn to right view and then transform options. We can select that two lines, and then we can click transform and mirror options, and we're gonna see that's kind of mirror here. Okay, after that we can turn to top view, and then that's gonna be my chain. It's gonna be deleted, and I'm gonna add that part. Okay, when we turn here, that's gonna be that one. Okay, this is my 4 axis actually. This is A0 position, and this gonna be A 108 position. Okay, so if I am recalculated, we're gonna see that's kind of toolpath. Okay, we don't want that. There is no any rotation here, so we need to change our plane. Is that right? I'm gonna focus on the plane options and the tool plane. We're gonna turn to bottom here, and that's also need to be bottom. Okay, I just need to do that for and do that part, and we can calculate it. That's fine. Okay, but actually there is some mistakes here. That's one and that's one. We can change our chain direction, or we can click here to be able to turn left to right and right to left. Okay, that's fine. This is my 180 degree position and A0 position. So let's see our G code here. We already have that, so that's why I can click here, remove block numbers, and let me check that this is A 180 position and A0 position. But we can also see the different working coordinate system here. We can change that. That must be the same like this. We can save that file. Okay, this is actually top to bottom. Okay, if you intend to change your and the different degrees, if you would like to use the different degrees, actually what we need to do, of course it's easy. Before that you can turn to view options, and you can activate your planes here, and then we can click plane options here. Okay, this is my plane options, this is my toolpath. We're gonna focus here, and I can click here, this is top, and we can use actually duplicate it, and we can rename it. Maybe we should write and z-axis, maybe we should write and the VCS and 60 degree. Okay, actually this is the same as the top actually, so I'm gonna use the right mouse button, and then rotate incremental options here. I'm gonna rotate top view according to z-axis with 60 degree. Okay, I'm gonna click OK button here. And then actually if you want, I can click here, here to be able to see all we have. Okay, this is my VCS, new VCS position. Actually, it is not necessary. Okay. Okay, if you would like to create your line, actually we need to turn actually that position, of course. Okay, this is gonna be my position. So we can turn here, here, and here. Okay, this is the top view actually. At that point we can turn to right and the C plane again, and then we can click here and here. According to actually right position, we can transform or rotate here with actually that degree to be able to get actually my line. Okay, that's enough. We can turn to top view again and toolpad here. Maybe we should also copy that's one and that's one, and we can paste here. I'm gonna change my geometry again. That's gonna be my geometry 1. That's gonna be my geometry actually 2. Of course, we can focus on the planes options here. That's gonna be that's one. Okay, that's also need to be selected. Okay, let me check that one. Okay, everything seems fine. Okay, we can also need to change that part. Okay, that's must be VCS 60 here, and VCS 60 here, and recalculate it. Okay, we can unselect that part and that part. Okay, everything seems fine. Okay, let me check all that stuff here. I can hit the G1 button to be able to see my C code again. A0 position, A180 position, and A300 position. Okay, or minus 60 position. Okay, both of them is the same. If you would like to change here, maybe we should write VCS 300, and let me check and our toolpad here. Okay, and I'm gonna turn here to be able to activate my the toolpad. Maybe we can, it is already changed here, tool plane and VCS here. Okay, everything seems fine. Actually, let me create another part for, and that's one. I'm gonna turn to C plane to right, and then I can turn to transform options and rotate my toolpad. We can write minus 60 and click here, here, and then we can turn to actually plane options. We can use the duplicate to top view and rename it. We can write VCS and the 60 position, and then we can use rotate incremental options and minus 6 here. Okay, and then we can click here. We already have the geometry, and we can copy the last tool pad here. We can change our geometry. This is geometry 1. That can be geometry 2. And then we can change our, and the VCS, it can be like this. We can also change that part. This is VCS 6, and then we can recalculate it. Okay, let me check that toolpath. Is everything seems fine? Okay, and maybe we should take all our C code here, and after that we can check our and rotary axis, 4-axis position. We can remove all that stuff here. This is A60, A300, and actually 108 position. We can also see the different VCS here, actually, maybe, and we can search that. How can we handle it? Okay, we just need to see the same actually and work offset here. Maybe we can click here, manual position, it can be 1. Okay, update and the plane here and here. After that actually process, we're gonna get actually, this is actually manual and work offset 1. We can update that one. Yeah, it must be actually okay after that setup, but I cannot remember it exactly actually. Okay, that's one actually done. We can turn here. Okay, it's already changed, but let me check that part. Yeah, everything seems fine right now. I'm gonna focus here and here. You're gonna see that everything seems fine. Let's click here to be able to see our, and actually, yeah, this is, yeah, everything seems fine. G55. Oh, we cannot see in a position right now. Okay, is that true? Yeah, that's not okay. As I say that, I am not sure that stuff actually. Let me copy here and find a position. We cannot see any A position here right now. No, that's one. Is everything fine? Okay, no problem. Oh, yeah, A is here. Maybe we should remove that part. Okay, maybe we should use the find options here with A and find next one, A0, A180, and A actually 360, and yeah, I think that's it. Okay, and thank you very much for listening to me. I really appreciate your interest. Okay, take care.